You ever get tired of editing your photos the same way all the time? You ever just want to spice that rice up? Today I'm going to show you how to make rice pilaf, so to speak. What I'm trying to say is your photos are going to be crispy as hell with little pops of surprise carrots. Rachel, I'm not reading all of this.
Let me cook.
First, we need some photos to work with, so let's head to California. Thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video.
So today's shoot, we're working with our old favorite, Destiny, and we're here on the beach using natural light and also this strobe. Destiny is dressed up like a Shakespeare character, the York skull. So we're here to take some photos inspired by a screenplay that I wrote where the main character is dressing up for Halloween on the beach. We're taking photos for pitch deck. Okay, I think that's enough with the flash. Can we get you to angle out towards the sun just so we get more light on your feet? So yeah, put your feet like over. Okay, I'm gonna have you on the ridge here. I'm gonna go on the other side. Honestly, gorgeous.
I think these photos hold up really well on their own. The lighting was really nice. Destiny did a nice job modeling. And of course, Rachel crushed it with the photos. You don't want to have to put lipstick on a pig. A great photo should be your starting point. But let's head into Photoshop and have some fun. Okay, the first thing I want to work on is this pixel stretch technique. Looks something like this. So let's go ahead and start. First thing we'll do is start with this photo. It's already been edited in Lightroom. I already exported it as a JPEG. And we're going to first start by grabbing the rectangle marquee tool. And we're gonna grab a selection of where we wanna stretch from. It's gonna be on the outer edge of our model Destiny here. So I think I'm gonna try a selection like this to start, see how that looks. So I'm gonna press Command or Control J on the keyboard with that selection I made on a new layer. Control or Command T to open the transform controls. I'm gonna pull on this to the left and simply press Enter. That's the very basis of this technique. It's very simple. So in order to make it a little bit more interesting, we can blend it in with a layer below it. You can use a layer mask and paint with a black brush, blend it in underneath like that. You want to really look like it's not just a hard edge, or that's really blending in pretty nicely. So play around with the selection, play around with the mask until you get something that you like. We could try something like that. Next thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna apply that layer mask by right clicking and say apply layer mask, since I'm pretty happy with it. Next, I'm gonna hit Command or Control T again to open transform controls. This time I'm gonna go up to the top and click on this icon here, which will let me switch into warp mode. And this allows you to grab different points and really warp this around like it's a piece of fabric. So maybe the wind's blowing, something like that. We can curve it up like that underneath itself. You play with the Bezier handles here to mess with the curve. You can also bring it out a little bit like that. Something like that looks pretty good. You can go ahead and press Enter or hit the check mark when you're happy with it. I think that's pretty nice. Now the next thing I would do is grab the pen tool. And if this is like fabric or whatever, in order to sell the effect, we need to have a shadow. So I'm gonna use the pen tool and try to mask out along this overlap here and just create a selection. This should be plenty big. Something like this. And now I don't need it to have a fill. I just want to use it as a selection, right? So I'm just gonna right click and say make selection. Make sure feather is set to 0, click OK. Now I have a selection, and now I can draw in a shadow. I'm gonna do this on a new layer. So I'm gonna create a new layer. use a brush again, and I'm gonna grab a dark portion of shadow from the image. So I Option Alt click to get the eyedropper tool to make that your foreground color, and then paint with a soft brush. Something like that. Really try to just paint in the shadow there. That's obviously a little strong, so we can now lower the opacity on the shadow layer. Something like that is probably fine for now. You can always adjust it later. So I'll go ahead and rename the layers shadow. Actually don't need that shape layer, I can delete it. And this is the top stretch. So double click top stretch. Okay, now we can repeat this process for the other areas that we want stretched out. So I'll go ahead and speed up, you know what to do. Okay, with all the stretches complete, have it where you want it, I'm gonna hit Command Option Shift E. This is gonna apply all these layers into a new one. So if you hide all of these, everything has now been printed to a top layer essentially. So now I can turn this into a smart object. So convert to smart object. And you can start adding some effects to it. So we can give it a soft blur just to help sell it a little bit more as feeling a little less crispy digital, you know, so something really subtle, 0.3 maybe. And then what I like to do also on these is add noise. Kind of looks like, should look a little grainy. So make sure Gaussian and monochromatic are checked, and then you can add the amount you want. Don't need to go over the top with it again. Something like that looks pretty nice. And then you can make some more adjustment layers just to enhance the image like you might in Lightroom, something like that. So I'm gonna increase the warmth here from the sun down below. Then I'll just create a layer mask on this. And we can do a final curves adjustment layer. Just give a little bit of contrast. All right, so there you have it on the pixel stretch. Now let's try another effect. This one is going to be a little bit more subtle. It's kind of cool. I think it's kind of fun. So what I'm doing here is I have these light streaks behind our subject here. And I thought it was just a cool technique, and I'm gonna show you how I did it. It's pretty simple. First thing you'll start off with is your photo, and then hit Command J or Control J to copy it. And next, you're going to want to download some Photoshop brushes. There's a lot of free ones out there. I found this is free name Photoshop brushes, and I found this one, number 10 here. It's kind of a cool look. And so what I'm gonna do is use the smudge tool. And then the mode I want set to lighten. So instead of normal, the mode is gonna be lighten strength. We try 30%, you may need to raise or lower it, depending. So I'm gonna click and drag by our model's head here to the left. You can see we're creating pretty cool light streaks. I think maybe increasing the size of the brush a little bit more. See, it's coming on a little strong. I think I'm gonna lower the brush. Let's try 15%. The brush strength there. Yeah, that's probably a little better. Something like this. Just play around with it, have fun, whatever, you know, whatever you're feeling in the moment. This is where you get to be creative and do whatever the F you want. I mean, you can go crazy with it. You don't just have to do what I'm doing. You know, you can just have a lot of fun with it. But I think that's a really cool effect. So now what I would do, since it's pretty apparent, you have these hard lines from the brush. So I'm gonna create a layer mask with this, and I'm just gonna brush away with a soft black brush, just a normal one, and paint away some of these hard lines. Okay, something like this is looking pretty good. There we go. So now I'm gonna click on the bottom layer, select subject. You can do selected mask, and you can refine hair, whatever you need to do. It's pretty rough. Let's just clean this part up here. Shouldn't matter for this example. We'll do new layer with layer mask, and then we'll put that above the light streaks we just did. And then just turn on that original layer as well. So now you can see we have the light streaks but now we have the subject is in front of them. So it's less dramatic. So that's this one. It's a little too subtle on this head one. I would probably want to play around with it to get it just right. But the end result that I was most happy with, something like this. I think it's a really nice effect. What I would then do, similar to the last example, is add some noise to the overall image. So let me show you that. Let's do Command Shift Option E, and we can make it right click and say Convert to Smart Object. Do the same thing we did before. You could do a little Gaussian blur. I'm gonna do noise, just so it all blends together a little bit better. Click OK. And what's nice about a smart object is you can always double click and adjust the noise after the fact. So there you have that one. Okay, so for this next effect, we're gonna use displacement maps. I think it's really cool. Here's the beginning, here's the end, here's another example. I'll kind of show you how it works, and so you can kind of get the idea of how you can implement it in your own work. But first, Rachel's outside yelling on a trampoline, so well, I'm gonna go see what she has to say.
In case you're new around here, you might not know that we're longtime customers of Squarespace. It's our favorite all-in-one website platform for photographers to stand out and succeed online. Now it's never been easier to get started. You can start a completely personalized website with Squarespace Blueprint, a guided design system to help you build your online presence from the ground up. Easily launch your website and get discovered fast with integrated and optimized SEO tools, so you'll show up more often to more people and jump the way you want. And grow the way you want. Not only that, now you can make checkout seamless for your customers with simple but powerful payment tools. Accept credit cards, PayPal, Apple Pay, and in eligible countries, you can offer customers the option to buy now and pay later with Afterpay and ClearPay. How do you think I got this trampoline? There's an unrivaled suite of built-in visual design effects where you can engage all of your website visitors. Doesn't matter if your photography sucks, these effects are so tight they won't even be looking at it. When you're ready to spring into action, go to squarespace.com/Mango Street to get 10% off of your new website and domain. Jump in Jehoshaphat, that's a good deal.
Okay, well, that was great, Rach. Let's get back into Photoshop here. So first things first, I'm going to convert this to a smart object. And then I'm going to also select all, copy, and I'm gonna open a new Photoshop document, and I'm gonna use the clipboard setting, so it's the same size. I'm going to paste it. And now what I'm going to do, I can delete the background layer, we don't need that. You think of displacement map as using grayscale to determine how it's going to shift an image. When we add a displacement map to our image, we can tell Photoshop how much we want it to affect the image on both the X and Y axis. Anything 50% gray will not affect anything. The closer you get to white though, the more impact it will have. And the closer you get to black, the more impact it will have, but in the opposite direction. I think it's easiest just to show you. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw a rectangle using the shape tool. Draw it around our eyes, maybe narrow it in a little bit. Do it again here. Something like this. And I'm gonna hide the original image, Command Option S. So I'm gonna save this as a displacement map. I'm gonna save that as a Photoshop file. Now we'll head back over to our original image. Okay, so now I'll go to Filter, Distort, Displace. We have pixel values here. So right now it's displacing on the horizontal scale by 5 pixels and on the vertical scale by 20. We could increase that, see what looks good, maybe 15, 25. Click OK. We can always change it if we need to. Oh, so this is a good example. One thing I forgot to do is on your displacement map, you have to go to mode and make sure it's 8 bits per channel, and then save it. Load up the displacement map. Okay, so the only part being affected by the displacement map is those areas with the black rectangles. If we did them white, it would move them in the opposite direction by the same amount of pixels. But hopefully you can start to see how you can utilize this to create some really cool effects. So you can start to play around with these techniques, combine different ones. And so I used a more smudgy, wavy displacement map on this one. And then I also added a texture that I got for free and set it to screen and a low opacity, just to give it a little bit more of a grit and depth and visual interest. And I added noise and a little Gaussian blur again. And you can start to layer displacements as well. You can do several of them. So if you start taking them off, can see different ones are doing different things. This one's shifting things and adding some noise, and this one's adding some of the streaks. So I'm combining different ones. And then what I like to do on top is paint away the displacement over the model's face. So I'm highlighting the face. So if we took off this mask here, you can see it's all very blurry and kind of hard to see. So I duplicated the layer and I turned off displace. And I just painted away using a layer mask, her face, and anything else I didn't want affected by the displacement map. And it came up with a really cool result. All right, so which method was your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.